finished. So yeah, I farm up in Harpswell. My wife and I are we raise meat and eggs on pasture. And like everybody else who's going to be up here tonight, I practiced and rehearsed the story and worked on the timing, and I got some feedback from everybody, and it was really good. And I'm not going to tell that story. I'm going a little rogue, and I hope it's okay. But that story just didn't quite do it for me. So I'm going to tell a different story, and this is a story of one chicken. So on pasture, we raise the grass and the legumes that the animals eat. But what we're doing is raising the animals, right? And so my connection to the land really goes through animals, and sometimes it goes through machinery too, because we harvest and dry forage for hay and stuff like that. But so I'm not somebody who necessarily has my hands in the soil all that much. I'm focused on the animals and moving them around and doing what I think is best for them to raise them in the best way possible to produce the best food possible. And so I got my start in a little boarding school in New Hampshire. My wife and I went there with our daughter when we were a young family, and we were hired as the teachers and kitchen coordinators. And then by the end of the first year, we were just so involved with the farm that we applied for and got the job as the farm coordinators there. And so, no experience. It was like a fake it to make it kind of thing. And so we took that job and we're psyched about it, and did that for 3 years, and it was fabulous. I mean, I literally wouldn't be here if that didn't happen. And that's where I got just totally hooked into the whole, pasture cycle. You feed the soil feeds the plants, the plants feed the animals feed the people, and it's just a great cycle. Just revved me up. It still does. And so one of the first things I decided to do as the new farm coordinator was I was going to have us raise meat chickens. Because we had, in the first fall I was there, where the other guy was doing the farming, we had some turkeys for Thanksgiving, and they were like out of this world. They were raised on pasture. We had them for Thanksgiving. I cooked them as the farm coordinator. And I was like, why don't we do chickens? We got to do chickens. And so one of the first things I did was we're going to get 50 meat birds, and we're going to raise them on pasture. And then when the fall comes, we'll process them with the kids. It'll be a great learning experience, the whole 9 yards. It's going to be out of this world. Because doing the turkeys when I first got there was it made a big impression on me. It was like, wow, like this is some real work. We are like taking something that was raised here and we're getting it to the dinner table. And as a high school teacher, I was all about like doing the best I could in my room to make the nice connections and create hypotheticals that really engage the kids, but there's something always missing. It wasn't like real, and like, let me tell you, processing some turkeys for Thanksgiving was real. So I'm like, we got to expand this and do some chickens. And so we did the chickens, bought the chickens, raised them up, did the pasture. I mean, I read Joel Salatin, I went to workshops. It was like pastured poultry, baby. And I knew they were going to be awesome. And so the best thing about working at a school, running a farm at a school, is that the kids get to help you with all this stuff. It's good stuff. And so the day came, we were going to process these 50 chickens. And so the kids were coming at 2 o'clock, and by about like 1:30, 1:45, I was all ready. Chickens were in the crates, the hot water was there, we borrowed somebody's plucker, we got the table set up for cleaning them out, and one of my first purchases as the farm coordinator was I got some of those cones. And the way you process chickens is you get these stainless steel cones, and you put the chicken in the cone, to do the dispatching that needs to get done in order to get from the field to your table. Because the way we did the turkeys was sort of old school. It was like broad axe, big wooden block. Just think about it for a minute. It's effective. It's just not really what you want to do, especially with a bunch of kids. And so the cone holds everything in place, and it's a marvelous thing. And so I had helped with the turkeys, but this was going to be the first batch of chickens that I did as a farm coordinator, that I was responsible for, that I raised, okay? And so the kids are coming, and I'm all ready, and I'm like, you know, I should probably do a chicken, like make sure I know what I'm doing here. Because I've done the axe thing, but I've never done the killing cone thing. And so, you know, my teacher vibes were going. I wanted to be ready for my class. You know, I had to show them, and we had to talk about it. And I had already been through all these big conversations. We were going, you know, how do you feel about this? Like, who thinks they want to participate in this part, that part? And so, but what I hadn't done is realize that I had never done this before with the cone. Okay, and there's a certain remove that is available when you have an axe in one hand and the chicken's feet in the other. It's just far enough away, I learned, so that you don't really think about it the way that it deserves to be thought about. And so I got a chicken, went over, put him in the cone. Might have been her, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, I guess I need the knife. So I left the chicken there and turned around to go get the knife, and you can probably guess that when I turned back around, the chicken was no longer in the cone. So a little bit of scurrying around, grab the chicken. It's not as easy as you think it might be. It was easier than if it was a hen, though, because they toy with me. But this particular chicken wasn't that hard to catch. So anyway, I got him back in, and it quickly dawned on me that I had to actually hold this chicken's head in order to do this properly. And so I walked up and I grabbed the head and I had the knife and I couldn't do it. And it was quite an existential crisis. And so I released it and held the feet just so it wouldn't go anywhere again and tried again. When I say try, I didn't actually cut or do anything. I was just like, I can't do this. There's this wonderful thing about teaching is that when you got kids coming to your room and they're going to be there whether you're ready or not, like, you do something. You make it happen. And I knew that I was at that moment. I had to make this happen. And I had a final walk up to the bird, and I thought to myself, okay, so it really became clear to me what I was choosing as a farmer at that moment. And my connection to these animals was going to be one where I had to take this action and be responsible for this, because otherwise, what am I doing here? And so what I thought about at that moment, which has informed everything for me since, because I raise animals to go on your plate, so this has been ongoing for me, was that I could look back at the life of that chicken and not have any regrets and know that I did absolutely right by that bird. Raised it in the sunshine, on the green grass, and you can tell when an animal is doing well. And these animals did really well. And that's what gave me the final push that I needed to know that this is okay, this works, I can do this, and you know, that still to me is really my connection to farming and my connection to the land. I gotta make sure that they have the best life possible if I'm gonna be the guy that either grabs them in the cone or puts them on the trailer to go to their, you know, next place. And that's my story. So thank you very much.